Good morning. This is Ralph Nieves, retired detective, bilingual polygraphist. Episode 3. I left off a little bit with O'Dale, and I left a little bit with Watergate and Spygate. Let me just get back into just explain to you that what Watergate was all about. Watergate was during the Nixon administration in 1970, when he was going to run for his second term. He had committed some of the most horrific abuses of power ever performed, or I mean, at least that we know of, by a president. And what he did was he tried to use the agencies of government, and he did to some extent, because he used the office of the presidency to invade and violate the civil rights and the privacy rights of individual citizens and reporters because they did not agree with his political philosophy, or he was mad at the protests that were going on, because at the time the unjust war in Vietnam was going on. And that started in the Kennedy administration, and it was a big problem in going back to the 1963 when Kennedy got inaugurated. We got involved in a war that was so tragic and pathetic to have lost 50,000 young men, and the people, the powers to be that were running the show, knew that it was a disaster. And in my opinion, Robert McNamara is no longer around, but boy, does he carry a big cross. And wherever he is, I'm sure it's not upstairs, it's downstairs, because he was fully aware that these young men were really being thrown into the den of iniquity for a cause that was ridiculous. And we lost 50,000 young fathers and sons and brothers, and that it was so needless. So it's very profound. Especially for me, at the time I was a bit in the service and also in the O'Dale program. But yes, Nixon is associated with stopping the war, interesting enough, in Vietnam. But the abuses that occurred in his office, because the power he had, he thought, as he I think one time commented, the president doesn't commit a crime. Well, everybody commits crimes. It doesn't matter who you are. Unfortunately, our system of way, when you're the president of the United States, there's certain ways of going about dealing with an elected president. But Vietnam is a blot in our history that I don't think we'll ever get over, and I don't think the families that lost their young children to that. It was just a sad story. Now, let me fast forward to Spygate. And the reason I make the comparison is because the abuses that occurred in the president's executive branch of government by Nixon, now we have something that's going on in the Department of Justice and the FBI, where it appears that in spite of the Russian alleged influences, and that should be looked at too, I'm not saying to exclude that, but when you have agents and U.S. attorneys and Department of Justice officials, and I'm not talking about the street agents. James Comey was never an FBI agent. He could never get through Quantico. He could never get through Paris Island. And I show you this here. So James Comey was an assistant United States attorney whose claim to fame before he became the director of the FBI. He stood behind a curtain while Alberto Gonzalez was trying to get John Ashcroft to sign off on some document. So he became the walk on water. We have U.S. attorneys that walk on water. We have district attorneys that walk on water. But they're in positions that if you're a defendant in a case and they do something improper regarding any Brady violations, it could be, particularly for the individual that's a defendant, because we're all entitled to justice. And that's all I'm looking for, is justice. And having had in my life an experience as a federal defendant and sat at the defendant's table, the prosecutor's table, and I've been a juror also. And I've also participated in all aspects of it. And we're going to get into more about that and explain to you exactly what that's all about. But please understand, for the younger generation, it's addressed to you, because let's not forget about Vietnam. And sometimes we have to remind everybody the sad, tragic loss of life. And now we fast forward to this. Have a great day. Look forward to seeing you soon for episode 4. Bye-bye now.